Once upon a time, in the quiet and peaceful village of Duru, there lived a young woman named Obiora. She was unlike anyone else in the village, beautiful, graceful, and kind-hearted. Her presence was like a gentle breeze, bringing warmth to those around her. The villagers admired her not only for her striking beauty, but also for her soft-spoken nature and willingness to help others. Men from all over the village would gather at the marketplace just to catch a glimpse of her. Many had tried to win her heart, approaching her with hopeful smiles and marriage proposals. "Obiora, you are so lovely. Will you marry me?" one would say. But Obiora would always respond with the same gentle smile and a soft reply. "Thank you, but I'm not ready." Despite her charm and kindness, there was something peculiar about her. No one knew where she lived. Every morning, she arrived early at the village market, setting up her stall filled with the freshest fruits and vegetables. Her goods were always the best, and people flocked to buy from her, trusting in the quality she provided. However, as soon as the sun began to set, Obiora would quietly pack up and leave before nightfall. The villagers whispered among themselves, wondering where she went. "Have you ever followed her?" One curious woman asked another. "No one knows where she stays. She just disappears after the market closes," another replied. This air of mystery only made Obiora more intriguing. While she was always friendly, she kept a certain distance from others, never revealing much about her life beyond the marketplace. To some, she was a quiet enigma. To others, a fleeting dream. Yet, as the days passed, a fateful encounter was about to change her life forever. One day, a handsome young man named Emma arrived at the market in Duru. He was a traveler, searching for the freshest fruits and vegetables, but what he found instead was something far more captivating Obiora. The moment he laid eyes on her, he was mesmerized. Her radiant beauty, gentle voice, and kind smile made his heart race. He couldn't look away. Summoning his courage, Emma walked up to her stall and greeted her warmly. "Hello, my name is Emma." "What is your name?" Obiora looked up and gave him a soft smile. "I'm Obiora. How can I help you today?" Emma was enchanted. He eagerly bought some fruit, but what he truly desired was to talk to her. Every day after that, he found himself returning to the market, not just for the fresh produce, but for the chance to see Obiora again. Over time, they developed a friendship, sharing small conversations about the weather, the village, and the daily happenings in the marketplace. As the days turned into weeks, Emma realized that he was falling in love. He admired Obiora's grace and kindness, and he longed to know more about her. One evening, as the market was closing and the sky turned a deep shade of orange, he saw Obiora packing up her stall. Concerned about her safety, he approached her. "Let me walk you home, Obiora. It's getting late, and it's not safe for you to go alone." She hesitated, her usual mysterious demeanor returning for a brief moment, but Emma insisted, and eventually she agreed. As they walked together, the cool night air surrounded them. Suddenly, Emma felt something ice-cold touch his back. A chill ran down his spine. He turned around quickly, but there was no one there. His heart pounded. Something felt wrong. Obiora, however, remained calm, walking ahead as if nothing had happened. "Obiora," he stammered, "I think I should turn back. It's getting too dark." She turned to him, her expression unreadable. "It's okay, Emma. You can go back if you're scared." Her words sent a shiver down his spine. Panic set in, and without another word, Emma turned and ran as fast as he could back to the village. He never returned to the market again. The villagers noticed his sudden absence and whispered among themselves. Why did Emma stop visiting? They wondered. But no one knew the truth about that fateful night, and no one knew the secret Obiora carried. The villagers of Duru only knew Obiora as a beautiful and kind market girl, but none of them knew her secret. She was not an ordinary human. Her true origins lay deep within the enchanted forest beyond the village, a place filled with mystical beings unlike any other. Obiora's family was not human. They were creatures with the power to take different forms. Some of them had the appearance of animals, others had ethereal, almost ghostly features. But Obiora was unique among them. She was the only one who could remain in human form at all times, allowing her to walk among the villagers without suspicion. Her parents had always been protective of her, warning her against forming close relationships with humans. "You must never marry a human, Obiora," they had told her. "Our worlds are too different. Humans will never truly accept you." Despite their warnings, Obiora longed for something more. She had spent her entire life hidden away in the shadows of the forest, her only taste of the human world coming from her visits to the market. She admired the villagers, their laughter, their stories, their simple yet fulfilling lives. She wanted to be a part of it. She wanted to belong. When Ima started visiting her every day, her parents grew concerned. They feared that she was becoming too close to him, that she might fall in love. And so, on the night he walked her home, they sent him a warning. The cold hand that had touched his back was not from the wind, nor was it his imagination. It was a trick from her family, a silent threat meant to drive him away. And it worked. Obiora felt a deep sadness when Emma never returned. She knew why he had left, and though she understood her family's reasons, she couldn't help but feel trapped by their rules. She didn't want to live in fear. She wanted the freedom to make her own choices, to love whoever she wished, to stay in the village as one of them. But to do that, she would have to make a choice that would change her life forever. Obiora could no longer ignore the longing in her heart. She loved her family, but she didn't want to live under their control any longer. The fear they placed in her, the restrictions they imposed, it was suffocating. She had spent her whole life torn between two worlds, and now she was ready to choose her own path. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the treetops, casting golden light over the village, Obiora made her decision. She would leave her family behind and stay in Duru for good. She would no longer live in secrecy or let her fate be dictated by those who feared change. Determined, she ventured deep into the enchanted forest to say goodbye to her family. When she arrived, her parents and relatives were already waiting, their glowing eyes filled with sorrow. They had sensed her choice before she even spoke a word. "I love you," Obiora said softly, her voice steady despite the emotions swelling inside her. "But I want to live my own life. I want to be free." Her parents exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of sadness and worry. "Obiora, you don't understand the dangers of the human world," her mother pleaded. "They will never truly accept you." "I must take that risk," Obiora replied firmly. "I cannot live in fear forever." Her father sighed deeply. "If this is truly your decision, then go. But remember our warning, this world is not kind to those who are different." With heavy hearts, her family watched as she walked away, stepping beyond the mystical borders of the forest, leaving behind the only home she had ever known. But just as she reached the edge, her mother whispered something into the wind, a final act of sorrow and desperation. "May you never find happiness with a human. May they always leave you in despair." A powerful curse, unseen and unheard, settled upon Obiora as she stepped into her new life. She did not feel it yet, but its shadow loomed over her, waiting for the right moment to strike. Back in the village, Obiora carried on as if nothing had changed. She continued selling her goods in the market, smiling and chatting with the villagers, keeping her past hidden. She had won her freedom, but she had unknowingly sealed her fate. Obiora embraced her new life in Duru, living among the villagers as one of them. She continued selling her goods at the market, greeting customers with her usual warmth and kindness. To the people of Duru, she was simply the beautiful and gentle young woman they had always known. None of them suspected the secret she carried or the curse that now followed her. One day, a wealthy merchant named Kalo arrived in Duru. He was a traveler, known for selling the finest fabrics and garments across many villages. He was charming, confident, and well-liked wherever he went. But when he first laid eyes on Obiora, he was captivated. "Who is that girl?" he asked a fellow merchant. "That's Obiora," the man replied. "She's the most admired woman in the village." Intrigued, Kalo approached her stall with a bright smile. "Hello, I'm Kalo. I travel across villages selling beautiful cloth. You must be the famous Obiora." Obiora smiled back. "Yes, that's me. It's nice to meet you, Kalo." From that day forward, Kalo visited the market often, always finding an excuse to stop by Obiora's stall. They talked and laughed, and the more he learned about her, the more he fell in love. He admired not only her beauty, but also her grace, intelligence, and kindness. After some time, Kalo made his decision he wanted to marry her. One evening, he approached Obiora and said with excitement, "Obiora, I like you very much. Will you marry me and come live with my family?" Obiora hesitated. She had guarded her heart ever since Emma disappeared, but Kalo's sincerity gave her hope. After much thought, she agreed to meet his family. But when they arrived at Kalo's home, his mother frowned. She had heard whispers about Obiora's mysterious past, the strange rumors surrounding her. After observing her for a while, she shook her head and said firmly, "Kalo, this girl is not suitable for our family. There is something unnatural about her." Kalo was shocked and saddened. He had not expected such resistance from his mother, but in the end, he respected her wishes. Turning to Obiora with a heavy heart, he said, "I'm sorry, Obiora. My mother does not approve of our marriage. I must listen to my family." Obiora felt her heart shatter. She had hoped Kalo would see past whatever doubts surrounded her, that he would choose her despite everything. But just like that, another man had turned away. With quiet dignity, she nodded, holding back her tears. Without another word, she left Kalo's home and returned to Duru, feeling the weight of the curse settle over her once more. Though she was heartbroken, Obiora refused to let despair consume her. She would keep living, keep hoping, but deep down, she wondered, would she ever find someone who would truly stay? Heartbroken and weary, Obiora felt the weight of the curse more than ever. No matter how much she tried to live a normal life, happiness seemed to slip through her fingers. First, Emma had vanished in fear. Then, Kalo had turned away because of his mother's suspicions. It was as if an invisible force was driving love away from her. Desperate for a solution, Obiora made a bold decision. She would return to Abiri's shrine, the sacred place where she had once severed ties with her family. If Abiri had the power to free her from her past, perhaps the spirit could also free her from this cruel fate. Under the cover of night, she walked alone to the shrine deep in the forest. The air was still, heavy with the weight of unspoken magic. As she reached the altar, she knelt and spoke in a soft but determined voice. "Great Abiri, I come before you once more. A curse has been placed upon me, and it follows me like a shadow. I cannot find happiness. Love turns away from me before it even begins. Please, I beg you, lift this burden from my soul." A soft, glowing light filled the shrine, and Obiri's voice echoed gently. "Obiora, you have endured much because of this curse," the spirit said. "I can lift it from you, but there is a condition. You must remain calm and never allow anger to take over your heart. If you let rage consume you, the curse will return stronger than before." Obiora's heart pounded with hope. "I promise, Obiri, I will stay calm. I will keep my heart pure. Please, free me from this sorrow." With a wave of Obiri's hand, a warm breeze surrounded Obiora. She felt something lift from her shoulders, as if an invisible chain had been broken. A deep sense of peace filled her soul. The curse was gone. For the first time in a long while, Obiora allowed herself to smile a genuine, hopeful smile. She thanked Obiri with all her heart and returned to Duru, ready to embrace life without the weight of the curse dragging her down. But as she walked back to the village, she knew one thing for certain: she had to keep her promise. No matter what happened, she could never let anger rule her heart. With the curse lifted, Obiora felt lighter than she had in years. She continued her daily life in Duru, selling her fruits and vegetables at the market with a renewed sense of hope. The villagers still admired her for her beauty and kindness, unaware of the battles she had fought in silence. One afternoon, as she walked to the village stream to fetch water, she sat by the riverbank, lost in thought. Though she was free from the curse, she still felt a deep loneliness. She had longed for love, but every time she reached for it, it slipped away. As she stared at the rippling water, a gentle voice called out to her, "Are you all right?" Obiora looked up to see a man standing nearby. He had warm eyes and a kind face, his expression full of concern. "My name is Chidubem," he said, stepping closer. "You looked sad, and I wanted to make sure you're okay." Obiora was taken aback. No one had ever approached her with such simple, genuine kindness. She hesitated for a moment before offering a small smile. "I'm Obiora. I was just lost in thought." Chidubem sat beside her, and they began to talk. Unlike the other men who had pursued her in the past, he did not try to flatter her or impress her. He simply listened. His words were gentle, his presence comforting. In the days that followed, they continued to meet by the stream. Their conversations flowed easily, filled with laughter and quiet understanding. Chidubem never pried into her past, nor did he seem to expect anything from her. He simply enjoyed her company. One evening, as the sun set behind the trees, Chidubem finally spoke from his heart. "Obiora, I care about you. You are a wonderful person, and I want to be with you." Obiora felt a mix of emotions: hope, fear, and a longing she had tried to suppress for so long. She hesitated before replying, "I like you too, Chidubem, but I have been through a lot. Are you sure you want to be with me?" Chidubem nodded with a warm smile. "I am sure, Obiora. Let's build a life together." For the first time in a long while, Obiora felt something she thought she had lost: hope. And so, with cautious but genuine happiness, she opened her heart once more. Obiora and Chidubem's love blossomed like the first rains after a long drought. With each passing day, their bond deepened, and soon Chidubem asked for her hand in marriage. For the first time in her life, Obiora allowed herself to dream of a future filled with love, acceptance, and happiness. The news of their engagement spread quickly through Duru, and the villagers were overjoyed. The beautiful and kind Obiora had finally found someone who cherished her, and Chidubem, known for his gentle heart, had proven to be the perfect match. Preparations for the wedding began, and excitement filled the air. On the wedding day, the village was alive with celebration. The square was decorated with colorful flowers, and the sound of music and laughter echoed through the air. Obiora, dressed in a stunning ceremonial gown, radiated beauty, while Chidubem couldn't take his eyes off her. As they exchanged vows beneath the golden afternoon sun, the villagers cheered, believing they were witnessing the beginning of a happy and prosperous union. But as night fell and the festivities came to an end, destiny had other plans. In the privacy of their new home, Obiora felt a strange sensation coursing through her body. A sudden chill ran down her spine. Her breath became shallow, and an overwhelming sense of unease gripped her. Panic flickered in her eyes as she turned to Chidubem. "Something is wrong," she whispered. Before she could say another word, a terrible transformation began. Her legs fused together. Her skin hardened into smooth, glistening scales, and within moments, she was no longer a woman. She was a giant python. Chidubem staggered back in horror, his face pale with shock. His bride, the woman he had just sworn to love and cherish, had turned into a creature beyond his comprehension. A scream tore from his throat as he bolted from the house, stumbling through the village, his voice breaking the silence of the night. "Help! Help! Obiora, she's a snake." Villagers rushed from their homes, confusion and fear gripping them. As they gathered outside, their eyes widened in disbelief at the sight of the massive serpent slithering through the doorway. The joyous celebration had turned into a night of terror, and for the first time, the people of Duru realized they never truly knew who Obiora was. The village of Duru stood frozen in shock. Moments ago, they had celebrated the union of Obiora and Chidubem with laughter and song. Now, they watched in horror as a massive python slithered before them, its golden eyes filled with sorrow. The woman they had admired, the bride they had just cheered for, she was not human. Whispers spread like wildfire. Is this witchcraft? Was she cursed? Has she deceived us all? Some villagers backed away in fear, while others simply stood in stunned silence. Amid the chaos, the elders made a swift decision. They summoned the village oracle, the wisest figure in Duru, to make sense of the unbelievable sight before them. Soon, the oracle arrived, draped in sacred garments, his staff glowing faintly under the moonlight. With calm authority, he turned to Obiora. "Step forward," he commanded. Slowly, the giant python slithered toward the center of the village square. Then, to everyone's astonishment, she spoke not with hisses or growls, but with the same soft, gentle voice they had always known. "I am Obiora," she began, her voice laced with sadness. "I was born into a family of magical beings who live deep in the forest beyond Duru. Unlike my kin, I was gifted with the ability to remain in human form, but my family forbade me from marrying a human. When I chose to stay in this village, they placed a curse upon me, ensuring that I would never find happiness with a man. Tonight, that curse has revealed its full power." The villagers listened, their initial fear melting into sympathy. They had known Obiora as a kind and gentle woman, someone who had never harmed a soul. Could she truly be a threat? The oracle turned to Chidubem, his gaze piercing. "Do you have anything to say?" Chidubem trembled, his mind still struggling to grasp what had happened. But after a moment, he took a deep breath and lowered his head. "Yes," he admitted, his voice filled with guilt. "I must confess something. I was drawn to Obiora because of her beauty and kindness, but deep down, I also had selfish intentions. I believed that by marrying her, I could gain wealth and power. I never expected this. A shocked murmur rippled through the crowd. The villagers had always seen Chidubem as a kind and honest man, yet now they saw the truth. He had not loved Obiora for who she was, but for what he hoped to gain from her. The oracle's face darkened with disappointment. Deception carries its own consequences, he said gravely. The village fell silent, waiting for the judgment that would decide both their fates. The village of Duru stood still, waiting for the oracle's verdict. The truth had been revealed. Obiora was a being of magic, cursed by her own family, and Chidubem had sought to marry her not for love, but for his own gain. The weight of their choices hung heavy in the air. After a long silence, the oracle finally spoke, his voice calm yet firm. Obiora sought love and acceptance, but she was met with betrayal and rejection. Chidubem, you desired wealth and status, but you never truly valued the heart that was given to you. In this world, every action has consequences, and neither of you can escape them. Chidubem's breath caught in his throat. He expected to be cast out, punished, or worse, but what the oracle said next shocked him. You will not be freed from Obiora, the oracle declared. You must stay with her as her husband. This is the consequence of your greed and the lesson you must learn. You sought to use her, but now you must walk the path you chose, not for gain, but out of responsibility. A murmur of surprise spread through the crowd. Many had expected Chidubem to be banished, not bound to the very person he had wronged, but the oracle's words carried wisdom. Love was not about possession or gain. It was about understanding, sacrifice, and truth. Chidubem looked at Obiora, still in her python form. For the first time, he truly saw her not as a prize, not as a means to an end, but as a soul who had suffered, just like him. Regret filled his heart. He had been blinded by selfishness, and now he was bound to a fate he never anticipated. The oracle raised a hand. This union will stand as a lesson to all. Deception leads to ruin, but true understanding can bring redemption. You will leave this village together, and whatever future awaits you, you must face it as one. The villagers nodded, understanding the weight of the oracle's words. Chidubem had been punished not by exile, but by fate itself, forced to walk the path he had once chosen for the wrong reasons. With heavy hearts, Obiora and Chidubem prepared to leave. As they stepped toward the forest, the villagers watched in silence, some with sympathy, others with curiosity. Their story would be remembered for generations, a tale of love, betrayal, and the lessons that fate never fails to teach.